Hello all, my name is Erta the Wanderer, and I've come out of the jungle today to talk with one of our most esteemed generals, the great Lizard Wizard. How are we doing today, the Wizard?
I'm great. How are you?
So far, so good. And we are also visited from one of our old, not so allies from Shyish. We have a Grand Mortarch of Death. Hello, Jacob, how are we today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you
Grand
aboard. It's good to
Grand
have a
Mortarch of
Grand Mortarch of Death.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's wordy. I'm gonna go with Gmod.
that works. Yep, it's always good to have a closer perspective to home than what we've got in what we do, I don't do death at all. I fight death. I don't think
Like
that's one of your.
Green Death.
I mean, don't we all fight death?
Yeah, fair enough. Any mortal. Yeah. So today we've gotten together and we're going to be talking about the grand new army on the scene. We've got Soul Blight.
Woohoo!
Woo! It's gonna be exciting. But we've got quite a bit to go over because they seem to have replaced the entirety of Legions of Nagash here.
Yeah, the only thing this didn't have from Legions of Nagash is the old Night Haunt stuff that used to be in Legions of Nagash.
Yeah, they don't have the Night Hunt stuff or the OBR stuff.
Yeah, but everything that wasn't already part of another army is now in this, and on the app at least, they don't have Legion of Nagash doesn't have its War Scrolls anymore, just Nagash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's this
Yeah,
replacement.
So
yeah, I think that's probably in the intent. It's not official until they release a GHB or AOS 3 says something, though.
I don't think they're going to be releasing a GHB this year, considering that 3.0 third edition is coming out right away.
Oh, I assume it will come out with third edition because they'll still need to issue point changes, which will be to the GHB. And they'll want to update
Yeah,
battle
that's what they
plans.
did with
Second edition.
9th edition 40k.
And with second edition Age of Sigmar. Like I'm still expecting a GHB because they'll want to do new missions and all that stuff.
If their writers aren't really, really busy with the upcoming thing, because we're supposed to be getting watertight rules.
I know, right?
I press F to doubt.
I don't know. They've been getting better and better on their rules team in terms of like creating core rules. And ninth edition is really solid for 40k. Like I have very high hopes for third edition Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I have high hopes, less high expectations, because GW tends to stick their foot in it just as often as they do really, really well. And every time I expect them to do better, they do rather poorly.
I don't know. I've been happy. Sons of Behemoth was the only big disappointment for me recently.
Eh. Well, really? I think we had a warband that came out recently that was worse than anything that's ever happened.
Oh, yeah, but that's not made for our game. That's made for Underworld.
But the rules were made for our game.
Yeah, but it's like I don't. They're not designed to be competitive. Like none of the war bands are very competitive.
Except some of them very much are. Like the Daughters of Cain one is a cheaper version of the already one with a Blade of Wounds.
Yeah, yeah.
At the very least,
absolutely.
she isn't worse than the sum of her parts.
That's true. But most of the other ones actually kind of are worse than the sum of their parts.
Fair enough.
Like
But
ours is just way
I-
worse.
I'm definitely cautiously optimistic for AOS 3.
yeah,
Like you can tell this battle tome was written with some questions that have not yet been answered about AOS 3 in mind. Um, like there's just some rules interactions that I think will hopefully be cleared up in third edition.
Yeah, there's some war scrolls that don't make any sense unless there's rules changes. Like, why would the White King's command ability exist if we're not getting some changes to the general
All-out
command
attack.
abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Do you think they're just gonna drop them entirely? Is that?
I don't
I
know.
don't know how they would change all-out attack to not be worse.
So I would like to not see at the double and reroll charge rolls disappear. Like I like auto running 6 a lot, and I like rerolling charges a lot. So
Yeah.
hopefully those don't go away. But like I could see all out attack and all out defense going away.
Hmm. I mean, the losing the 6s to run would do a lot to make ease people's fear about zombies.
Yes, yes.
uh,
I mean that when we get to it, I don't know why you bring anything in this book other than zombies.
oh, okay.
Honestly,
Yeah, I
like
don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Fair enough. We can definitely start at the beginning. So, from what I understand lore-wise, the Soul Blight vampires are independent of Nagash, so all of you people out there who are tired of Nagash being the only boss in the world, that doesn't seem to be a thing here. A bit of a retcon with, forget the Manfred, but,
yeah, Von Karsten.
yep, but in general, they seem to be their own thing. Which, huzzah! Personality! Yep.
And the vampires were always that way in Legions of Nagash. Like they had an unenthusiastic fealty to him just because he ate all the other gods of death. But yeah, they never were happy about being in his servitude.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
now
and then
that
we
he-
have Manfred and Neferata were brought in, and the start of when the realm of death was made, and they were the originators of the current lines of vampires.
Yep.
So they have a reluctant fealty to Nagash, but often operate independently.
Yeah, and they've definitely kept intact Neferata's animus towards Nagash from the world that was, if you know all of that backlore, which is really good. Like, definitely go out and read it. That was some cool stuff.
To be perfectly honest, this army has done its best to keep its identity from the old world better than anything else.
Yeah, it's done a really good job. It's
Yeah,
like
with the
Cities
exception-
of Death.
Yeah, with the exception of the Vamptars, they look very much like what you would find in fantasy, lore-wise and model-wise. They did get a whole new refresh on models, which they desperately, desperately needed.
Yeah. I mean, skeletons are skeletons. Like, the new skeletons are cool. I like them. I would prefer them to the old skeletons. But, like, they're not radically different from any other skeleton model any other game has ever made.
Right, but that was one of the many models that were redone. We have new
true.
Fellbats, which look amazing, as opposed to the
Yes.
old fine cast models. We have the
Pewter, they weren't even
Oh, that's
fine
right.
cast.
They were still metal. Those
Yep.
things, they were just like T-posing all over the place. Those things
and they were wrecking
horrid.
balls. Like, you could only put them on a flat surface, or they would kill everything on the table by falling over.
Yep. And then they replaced the oldest kit in the game, Zombies, which were close to 30 years old, and showed it. Still had ball joint arms and everything. It was, so bad.
Yeah, I just put together some zombies that had a 1999 stamped onto the sprue.
1999.
The last time they made, or that's when that sprue was made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they're older
There's probably
than
some
that,
people. Yeah, there's probably some people listening to this podcast that were born after that.
Oh, don't say that.
though. I know at least one of our fans is.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so old.
Yeah. We all have to age eventually. Death finds us all and turns us into zombies.
We have two new sculpts for zombies. We have the one from the new Warhammer
First
Quest,
Cities?
and then we have the
Yeah.
new kit.
Hmm?
Now, admittedly, the Warhammer Quest version is kind of limited in access, but if you can find them, they're neat on their own right as well.
Yeah, all the tombstones on their back.
Yeah, with the mushrooms and looks... Yeah, they're both really well done.
I like to think of those ones as sharks, like that's their dorsal fin. You just see like the
Yes.
sharks behind a finch post, like you see the tombstones moving.
Yeah, they're just swimming underground.
Uh-huh, yep.
Yeah. So, feel-wise, I know not everyone's super pleased with them for some bizarre reason, but these guys are awesome. And GW continues to make good on their really cool-looking models promise.
Yeah, Games Workshop
I-
is a model company first and foremost.
Yep. I'm not sure if they should be, considering the only reason people buy their models is for the game. But, yeah. Let's see. Should we move on to core abilities?
Yeah, their allegiance abilities. They've got bloodlines. They're cool. It's sub-factions. It's typical. Nagash knows everything for magic that the other wizards know. They just had to include that. It's the same rule he's always had. They just continued its iteration here.
Mm-hmm.
He does get the Soul Blight Gravelord keyword, which is important.
Yes, it's very important.
Yeah.
When he's taken in Soul Blight Gravelord armies.
Yeah,
he doesn't just have it
he
out
becomes
there.
a second general too, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he'll always be a general in addition. So theoretically, if you have Nagash and like Manfred in Legion Knight, you'll have 3 generals in your army.
I much prefer that to how they used to do things, where if this model is in your army, it must be your general.
Yeah, I hope this is actually the
Yes,
new
way
trend.
better.
Like, I would like to see a lot of named characters going forward, acting as a general
In
in
addition.
addition to. Yes, I would love that. I hope that's an AOS 3 thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
also cool if it's a unique Vampire Deathlords thing. That's fine with me. But I hope that,
Well,
like...
it's not
other
unique to
lords get it.
vampires because Marathi gets it as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Nighthawk get it.
we have standard deathless minions, 6-up ward. It's standard. It
It's-
should, like I said last time, it should definitely just be an overall death battle trait and stop giving it to
did.
each army.
It did change, though.
It's a little
now-
bit easier.
Yeah, it's wholly within 12 of a friendly Soul Blight Gravelord's hero or a gravesite. Which is
Yeah,
which like they
makes
got
it
the
much
same,
better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that their gravesites changed. Like you used to just get 4, you could put them anywhere on the table. Now there's more restrictions. 2 of them have to be in your deployment. 2 of them have to not be in your deployment. They can't be in terrain or near terrain or objectives. Like it's
Right.
pretty.
They
So
updated
peaceful,
it to fit the normal terrain rules, and
Yep.
the normal terrain rules are kind of dumb. But for good reason, and mixed feelings on that because it screwed us over so hard, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
One thing you do need to know is Endless Legions got a hard nerf. It's still there, it still
I don't
brings
know.
back units.
I don't know.
I feel like it's a more lateral shift than downward shift, but it's probably lateral and a little bit down.
I think it's definitely a downshift. It's
So-
for one, it's not
I
a
know.
hold on.
I don't think it's a downshift.
Yeah, because if you're like the old one, right? Your general had to do it. In
Yes.
the current meta, you don't have a general for more than a turn if you're playing Legions of Nagash. Like
True
they're
enough.
just gonna blow it up. So sure, when you got to use the old one, it was better, but you got to use it way less times.
Yeah. Shame
And
about Ethereal Amulet
super
there.
importantly, it costs CP.
Yes, and this one doesn't.
Yeah, but this one isn't something that you can use when you need it. It's only a win more ability because it only really works when you're already crushing it. When you're already
Or when
killing
you're
an
dying.
entire
It
unit.
happens regardless.
No, yes, but it happens on a 5-up, and as we all know, anything that happens on a 5-up is not something you count on, ever. And you do get +1 for each unit you destroy, so it gets better the better you're doing, but at that point, and it only brings back half a unit.
Yes, only
And
bringing
it's
back half
super
of you
importantly,
is-
like, yeah, that's unfortunate, but like, you don't have to have a hero near the gravesite for it to happen. You can pick any gravesite on the table. All your heroes can be dead, and you can still get it back. Like this makes the army able to play after its heroes are dead, which is a big deal. And again, it'd be better if it was the entire unit, but doesn't cost the CP, which is great because you'll still be able to use it with Lumineth, the Realm Lords on the table, and you'll still be able to use it even if you've been tabled.
That
Yeah,
is
it's-
actually true. It's not going to happen because they'll just zone you out, but it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, but it's more lateral than downward, but I do think it is still slightly downward. Um, but that being said, at like top table play, you're not really getting to use the old Endless Legions anyways, because your general is going to be dead turn 3 and onward in the current shooting meta. Like the old Endless Legions was
Yeah.
amazing in a combat meta.
Yes.
But now that you can access to kill those generals anyways,
That's it. You're actually way easier to zone out because I don't think the old Endless Legion required the outside of 9 inch.
no, it did. You couldn't be set
It
up into
did.
combat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And never mind.
But they got another cool ability, like an actual decent bravery. Just in general, you're -1 bravery while you're within 6 inches of a Soulbite, Gravelord's Deathwalker, or Death Rattle, so zombies or skeletons.
And -2 if you're
Yeah,
within
and that
6
replaces
of
the-
both. 2 of them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that replaces the banner ability that used to be on those units' roar
Yes.
skulls.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Which is great. Like, I like that. And zombies didn't have it. Like, zombies get that now. It used to be that you could double stack it with the skeleton and with the Death Guard, but now zombies also trigger it.
Yep. Only ones who are going to care about it are destruction. Poor destruction.
No, they're like order. You start doing -2 bravery to a bunch of order guys that are like bravery 6 and bravery 7, which is a lot.
Even
of
bravery 8.
Yeah, and that's meaningful. Like
So,
you take
cities?
bravery 8. Yeah, well, and Stormcast Eternals.
Are they 6?
And KO and Fire Slayers.
Yeah,
I
so
thought they
most
were all
Stormcast
8.
Eternals- Most Stormcast Eternals end up at 8.
Those are 8,
because
that's
they
right.
take Hammers of Sigmar.
Uh-huh.
But base-wise, they're 7.
Okay. So it affects mainly cities and Stormcast until Stormcast get their new books in about 3 months.
And Coalesced.
Yes, but why?
I don't know. I mean, bravery matters. Like, if you're killing... If you're taking bravery from 8 to 6, then, like, you kill 3 guys and there's a 50% chance 1 or more are going to run. Like, that's just extra kills.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
you force
and
them to
killing
use
one
these.
model invokes the leadership test.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't think it's like... I think it's easy to overlook. But
Especially with how much immunity to bravery we have in this game.
yeah, but like this last event,
That is a problem.
like story time, I did an awesome thing. Last event I went to, I played against a list with 3 max-sized units of Liberators, and I killed them all in 2 turns because of bravery. Bravery matters. It reduced the amount you had to kill them by like half. So I don't know, like giving -2 bravery, like that can oftentimes read as deal 2 mortal wounds. So I think it's good. Like, I'll happily take it.
Fair enough. It is at least
Yeah,
a
it's not
useful
gonna
ability
make
and
games,
not...
but help.
Yeah, it is a useful ability and not a this ability does nothing, which do exist.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. They also have Locust of Shaiish, which is probably the most fun one we have here. It allows them to twin spells on a 9+, which means Nagash is going to be throwing around double spells all the time.
Yes. And he could do this in
Well,
the
only
past,
on
but they
the-
always had this in Legion.
Yeah, only on the lore spells,
Only on
but
the
he
lore.
has all the lore spells.
Yep.
So he can just keep throwing them.
Yep. Like, Fading Vigor, Deathly Invocation.
Yeah, and at top health he has +5, so as long as that's not changing, and most people think it's not, he's going to be getting it pretty much every time he gets a spell off.
Yeah. Yeah, like on...
That
yeah.
actually makes Nagash not as meh as he has been.
Mhm.
Like, 'cause
Well,
he's been significantly meh for quite some time.
He always had that when he was in Legions of Nagash, the Legions of Nagash army. The twin casting has been a thing. It wasn't called Locust of Shaiish. I don't remember what it was called. I have my Legions of Nagash book here, but I don't feel like looking it up. But it stuck around. They kept that. So yeah, and it's gonna be a thing. Like there's multiple ways to get bonuses to casting in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's heroes, there's support units. Like you can, for a turn, be at +4 to cast, depending on like an artifact you take. Like there's a lot of ways to try and search and hunt for those +9s in this book.
Yeah. Which is
And
much better than what I originally saw when I saw it.
yeah,
That.
um,
Yep. We'll get
A
to the
lot of people
spells.
had a very negative reaction.
Well, that's because a lot of people looked at the surface level of the things and also the upcoming third edition's rumors and said, "Oh, this is awesome, but it will never happen." And it is awesome, and it might never happen. But until then, it's really cool.
yeah. I mean, it's still better than Night Haunts get a 10-inch charge thing. Like,
Yes,
this will happen more than that.
very
And,
much
like,
so.
people are still terrified of the Night Haunt, or used to be for a long time.
Used to be,
They're like,
yes. They
yeah.
shouldn't have been,
No,
but they do. Sorry,
Hey, it
sorry,
was-
Jacob.
It was good at the start.
Yes, yes, it was. But
3 years ago.
oh, wow, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yep.
Poor
Deathly
Night Haunt.
Invocations just got straight up streamlined. So it used to be like on each individual hero's frickin' war scroll. Now they just have a cool table. Mortarks get 4 Deathly Invocations, Vampires get 3, Death Mages get 2, Death Rattle get 2. It's exactly what it used to be. That's just the number of units you can pick.
It's not. There's a
Well,
really important nerf that happened. You can only target one unit once. The same unit cannot be subject to it multiple times, and that's a really big nerf.
No, that's horrid.
Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, a unit can only benefit this once per turn. No, that's terrible. Oh,
it definitely devalues, like, trying to slingshot a single horde back up. Like, you're no longer going to be throwing one unit in and trying to yo-yo it. Now it's more like throwing a bunch of units in and sustaining all of them.
but a bunch of units will just die outright. Nothing in this book is super tanky.
Oh,
We can go over some of that later, but there's some things you can do to make them a
Yeah.
little bit durable. But yeah,
Yeah. What is Games Workshop's beef with healing in this game? It makes me really worried for Alariel's War Scroll next week.
it's fill bads. Like, that's what it is. Like, people hated playing Legion of Nagash. Not, like, Legion of Nagash was really good when it came out. But the
Right.
reason people hated playing
Well-
it was because you had to kill the same unit, like, 10 times.
Granted, but it was back
and it's the
when-
worst kind of feels bad.
Yeah.
It works both ways. Either it works and your opponent feels bad, or it doesn't work and you feel bad. Like, there's no middle ground with that type of rule. It's the same problem with the Necrons RP in 8th edition.
Then why keep it around at all? Like, there are other ways to simulate the fact that your guys are incredibly resilient and keep getting up, but ways that don't feel as terrible, I guess.
I
If they're-
guess. But this is like, it's still not bad. Like, if you're running a monster list and you're taking like several zombie dragons or terrorgeists and stuff.
I don't think it
and
works on them because it has to have the summonable keyword.
Or the regular terrorgeists not summonable? I thought the non-mounted ones were. Now I have to go check.
Oh, definitely something to double check. It's a new book. We're going to be doing a lot of that.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's just the summonable.
Yeah, so the only times
Yeah,
it
it
helps
doesn't-
is on really big hordes, except you can't use it on really big hordes. That's disappointing.
I mean, it also will definitely help with dire wolves.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
it'll help with dire wolves. It'll help with zombies, skeletons, like all the big blob units you'll be taking.
It'll definitely help, but marginally?
Yeah. I mean,
And there's a
D3
spell that
wounds
helps a
isn't nothing.
little bit as well.
yeah, they get just a generic spell.
Yeah, so it can, if you're willing to spend the cast on it, which is an important question, it can be 3 plus T3.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's not,
It'll just let
that's
you
not
target a
awful.
unit.
Let's see. We've got the legions next after we've covered those guys. So we're not
Yeah.
going to go over all of them because some of them you'll never encounter and we've got limited time. But we're going to go hit the main ones, the 2 that you'll see all the time, and then the hipster choice because of what it's called.
So I guess let's actually just go in order and do Legion of Blood.
Fair enough.
In part because it leads into my -2 bravery is a good benefit.
Fair enough. But yeah, Legions of Blood. You're playing vampires. Some people are going to pick this just because it's the bloody one.
But yeah, this is Neferata's Legion. You get Immortal Majesty. Anytime a unit fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of a Legion of Blood vampire unit, add D3 to the number of models that flee.
Which is really awesome on elite units.
Oh yeah, like you do that to like
Kurnoths,
or
Gorgrunted,
yeah.
Anything with 2+ wounds, Fire Slayers.
Yep, it's great. And then they also get to ignore negative modifiers to hit and rune rolls for attacks made with Legion of Blood Death Rattle, as long as they're within 12 inches of a vampire.
Which would be most helpful if they had a range unit, because most of the sorry guys, apparently somebody's deciding to drive motorcycles outside my house. But yeah, it would work best if they had a range unit, because most of the negative ones to hit are for range.
I mean, there's a lot.
There is a lot, but the most ones I can think of would be like Nurgle, Lookout Sir, all of Daughters of Cain. A lot. There are negatives to hit, and I'm not sure if. Oh, there is one to wound. It's the Night Haunt one, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple different spells.
Yeah, Shade Mist.
Negative one to wound. There's
it's a good ability. Being able to completely ignore debuffs is awesome, especially considering that I think debuffs are going to be a much bigger thing in the next edition.
Yes.
And it also, like, you can stack this with your bonuses, so you can still make your skeletons or your zombies hit better, which is a pretty big deal.
It's only negative modifiers, which is awesome. They didn't do a double-edged sword, like ignore all modifiers, because that would be dumb. Wonder when.
Well, and it's great because it ends up like swinging 2 directions. You can now, if the rumors of AOS 3 are true and you can't get more than +1 to hit, this can essentially let you get +2 to hit because your bonuses wouldn't be canceling each other out.
Right.
Yeah. So that is good. Like I can see
this is
being
especially beneficial.
3rd.
This is especially beneficial to Graveguard, which will make more sense once we get talking about you.
But yeah, unfortunately, the army it hurts the most is Gits, and poor Gits.
Yeah. And you can even take like.
Stop it, GW. They're already dead.
You can take command traits to further reduce bravery as well. Like if you really want to go.
Yeah, a -3 is getting to the point where I think it's really starting to hurt.
Yeah, and like you do that to a unit of Boingrot Bounders, like you killed 2 of them, and more than half the unit's going to be dead. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's got a lot of solid command traits, but let's see. Right. Walking Death is the one I want to pull up because if you could get a Terrorgeist in 6s to wound would do 12 damage each.
Yes.
Which is hilarious.
But there's no general on a Terrorgeist.
I'm aware. It's just if this was all accompanying death and you could like ally in
Zombie
and make
Dragon
one.
though.
Yeah. It's just a funny thing I noticed, and then I said, "Oh no, that's not a thing."
Sanguine Blur, though, friendly units that start piling in wholly within 12 of the general can move an extra 3 when they pile in.
Doesn't that give zombies 9-inch pile in?
It does, and that's a very cool thing.
That's
all
insane.
Your objectives belong to me.
You couldn't even get away from them at that point because most people can't retreat that far. You're always in combat with them.
Yep.
Well, it's still a 6-inch engagement for their special rule, which we can go into more detail later.
But the extra 3 inches of movement to like snag horizontal objectives and stuff.
Yeah, this right here is why I think Legions of Blood is actually really, really good, because a lot of the things in this book could really benefit from 6-inch pile-ins. It's it's really good on zombies, which are a okay unit that buffs well. imagine that ability on a bunch of good units that buff well. Especially,
Zombies are probably one of the best things in the book, just to be clear.
granted, they are, but they don't start out that way, and it takes effort to get them that way. But yes, this is a fun ability.
In terms of artifacts, I like Ring of Dominion. I just think it's funny. You make someone punch themselves. You pick an enemy unit.
I don't like the
within
fact
3
that
inches.
it's all you can't pick any weapon that charts or has a C below roll. That's a shame.
Yeah, and then you roll a dice, so it's already iffy. On a 5+, you pick an enemy melee weapon, and unit takes mortal wounds equal to the damage characteristic of that melee weapon.
There's a lot of
I
times
just
this
love
would
it.
just be funny.
Yeah,
And-
it's not a good one.
I think a couple of models can outright kill themselves with this ability. Like
Possibly,
I'm
yeah.
thinking
There's a
specifically
couple
Korn.
of standouts here.
I'm speaking specifically Korn because doesn't the Korn guy have a 5-up if you take damage from this model you just die?
Oh yeah, the mighty Lord of Corn on foot with the
Yeah.
bloodhound.
Or if
Yeah.
you have the dagger on one of your skinks, if you roll a 5 and then roll a 5 again, your character stabs himself in the neck and he dies.
Yeah, you could serpent or what is it? Something of the serpent god.
Yes, Serpent's Dagger.
Serpent god's
Oh.
dagger. Yeah.
I wonder if this wouldn't work with the Night Haunt Slitter. This would be something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nifty ability because it's loreful and it's funny, and it gets even funnier if you see the certain situations where it just goes crazy.
Yep. Amulet of Screams, I actually think is pretty good. It's once per battle. If an enemy wizard successfully casts a spell that's not unbound, you can say you'll use your Amulet of Screams. If you do so, they take D3 mortal wounds after the effect of the spell has been resolved. Like, having those small support wizards, like, looking at you, Star Priest, take D3 mortal wounds, like, that's not a bad once per game aim.
Right, especially if you can tap them and make your opponent think, oh, wait, he might just kill me if I cast something.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's good at
Because
playing
it
mind games.
does not have a range limit. There's no
Yeah,
getting
that's the
away
important
from
part.
it. Yep.
Yep.
No, I think the ones that are probably the standout are probably the Orb of Enchantment is a really good one, and then the Oubliette Arcana.
Yeah, especially since you can do it.
Yeah, the Orb of Enchantment, everyone, is once per game, hero within 3. On a 3-up, they can't fight, which is pretty awesome, especially with all the god models around.
Oh yeah, Kragnaros.
Yeah, I mean, you're...
Yeah, on
Wait,
a 3-up, my Coven Throne
Ooh.
stops a Maw Crusher.
Yeah, it means that if you play badly and your hero that's holding this gets charged by the big Doom monster, you have a chance of surviving and getting away, which is useful, especially against destruction. And Oubliette Arcana, once per hero phase, you can cast a spell and not unbound. You can roll a dice on a 5+. It is unbound. It's essentially a second chance at unbinding, especially and it works even if they get 12 or up.
Yep.
And if your opponent picks priority for the start of the combat phase for Orb of Enchantment, and they go through and spend their CP, they pop their abilities, and they want to do that first so you don't use your sneaky stuff. Like, this is one of those things you want to happen at the end of the start of the combat phase, because then your opponent burns their skills.
Yes,
Well, and
it doesn't. It doesn't have a phase it goes off in. It can happen whenever, as long as you're within 3.
Start of the combat. Yeah. The other thing though to worth note is it's not just an oops I played poorly. Like, you can have a hero that is designed to be a dart who goes into Kragnaros, turns him off, and then you send 3 or 4 units into him, and they all get to fight him without retaliation.
It is a gamble, but you've got good odds.
Yeah, it's a 66% chance. That's as good as getting off any spell for the most part.
Yep.
The sad thing is you just don't know if it's gone off before you've committed or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, gamble. If you go into something really heavy and you lose hard. But at least you did it. So,
But it's a dice game. Everything's
yes.
a gamble.
Well, most things are a gamble. Iron drinks are not. Bring it.
Fair, 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 fair.
All right. Let's see. Next is, I believe, we're going over Legion of Night.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Manfred's one, and Manfred is amazing. We'll go into why later, but he is an awesome model that is going to be in most lists.
This, in my opinion, is the competitive Legion.
Mm-hmm.
The main feature is the bait. It's an off-table deploy. You can.
Oh, that's right. They lost Up from the Grave.
Not completely.
Ageless
There's some
Cunning.
things
So
that can still do it.
Yeah.
I mixed them up. The bait is just add 1 to save rolls for Legion of Night, Death Rattle, and Deathwalkers during the first battle round.
Mm-hmm.
This is very similar to what the old one was back in Legions of Nagash, which just gave skeletons +1 to their save if they were in your territory. It basically functions the same.
Yep, this one's great because it helps with alpha strikes, which are always a problem.
This is also one of those rules that arguably, like, if you want to get really persnickety about it, you could argue that the Deadwalker side doesn't necessarily work right now because it's not in any AOS FAQ that I know of that you can modify a dash save. Yeah. But it makes sense that you should be able to.
Yep. So maybe that will be clarified in AOS 3. Like, that's one of the things that potentially points to a rule shift in AOS 3. Ageless Cunning's their other great thing, though. It's an off-table deploy. You can set units up in ambush or as reserves. They can come on at the end of any of your movement phases, wholly within 6 of a table edge.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's board edge, which isn't the best, but it works, and it's a good way to get way in the back line, forcing your opponent to play to leave something back there to guard it.
And it's not as bad as it used to be. Like, Age of Sigmar has gotten a lot more elite, so you don't see people with the ability frequently to just fully zone you out of all edges.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at units like zombies and skeletons that have move characteristics of 4, there's no way that isn't better than wherever they would have to start and move to.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a better version of what Beasts of Chaos get. Beasts of Chaos have to come in first battle round unless they take their special thing, and then it's second battle round.
Yeah, but that's Beast of Chaos. We all pity them.
Poor Beast.
Yep, but yeah.
And it can be, then it comes on like up to the 4th battle round, so that's really late in the game. You can hold things back.
Most of them are up till round 4. Like Shadowstalkers are, Dracothian's Tale are, I believe Sigmarites are. So this is more standard than really late. It's just beasts that have the weird one that makes them die immediately.
Yep.
But yeah, if shooting remains the top strategy, it might. Third edition is coming. This is definitely going to be one that is going to be showing up a lot.
Yeah, just because you can protect the things you want to protect.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Command
There's
traits.
some decent command traits and artifacts of power. I don't know that there's any that's like I always take it.
Unbending Will is amazing for any kind of horde army.
Yeah, if you're running like zombie spam, you definitely want Unbending Will. But like that's the only go-to. The others are all useful.
Battle Shock community within 12 of general.
Yep. And that's the other thing though, like with hordes though, like you're going to be affecting 2 units. And from the sounds of things, I think you're going to end up sitting on command points anyways in the new edition.
Mm-hmm.
So like
I hope so.
I don't know how great this, because if you've got 40 zombies and someone's charging you, you're moving D6 inches away from them probably isn't really going to help you. You've got 40 bodies.
Yep.
Stand and fight might help you, but at the moment you can't modify their save. Mm-hmm. So I don't like Unbending Will could be really good. It could also be kind of moot. Depending on how.
So as it stands right now, Soulblight's super CP hungry. They are desperate for the CP. So if you can avoid spending CP on Inspiring Presence, like that's massive.
Yes.
Another good one is Unholy Impetus. Half good. It's unfortunately has the if general slays enemy model, so this is more like if he's the spear point. Everyone wholly within 12 gets +1 to attack on melee weapons, which is a lot of fun if you can get it to work.
Yeah, and this is also
You
like
can
really
roll-
good for Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah,
And it can stack with Manfred's ability, so you can potentially have +2 attack.
Yep. Man.
yeah, it can get gross.
Yep, it's hard to pull off. The Ironheart Melisai has a similar ability, and it's worthless on her, but because she doesn't actually kill things. But if you get it on something that's hammery enough, this can be fun.
Yeah. Out of artifacts, my favorite is Morbeg's Claw. It lets you pick a point on the battlefield once per game in your hero phase. If you do so, add 2 to casting rolls for Legion of Night Wizards wholly within 12 of the bearer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The bearer can't move or shoot or fight, but it's just once per game +2 to cast to all other of your friendly wizards near that wizard.
Is it only once per game?
Oh no, I think it might.
It says
actually
in your
always be.
hero
Yeah,
phase.
it's just,
Yeah, because
so
this
it's
this is
even more amazing.
great. This right here
Yeah.
is going to be taken every single time because you just want to twin your spells.
Yeah, it's a big part of the reason to play Legion of Night.
If only you could twin Van Hell's Dance Macabre.
Actually, Chiropteran Cloak is actually pretty solid if you want to make a sacrificial play into something nasty.
Oh yeah. It's basically the old Slaves to Darkness Nurgle Demon Prince command ability.
Yeah, which was horrifying. And, it's... Oh, melee weapon. So, yes, it's not the ranged one, which was why it was so stupid.
Oh yeah,
But-
it's not
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah,
but it's-
if you want to like put it on something fast and cheap and just throw it at a big enemy and just stick into
and-
combat.
Like, again, if you're doing the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon with Unholy Impetus, you can give him that thing, and the horde you sent him into will kill themselves as much as he already killed them. Like,
I like this on the Vengorian Lord, because this would stack beautifully with its aura of -1 rend.
yep.
Yeah,
So you're
there's a
that
lot
hard
of
to
nifty
kill.
stuff here.
Yep.
Yeah, if Morbeg's Claw wasn't already here, this would be something that would be seriously considered.
Yeah. Well, and,
And
But-
depending on Force Org, you might be able to use both.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a good artifact list. Like Shard of Night, Ignore Rend for missile weapons, which is amazing.
oh yeah,
just-
just nerf salamanders.
Salamanders, Iron Drakes,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of things. Yes.
The entire KO line.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they'll still do damage, but nah, that takes care of most of it.
Yeah, especially like because generic Vampire Lords now have a 3+ save, right? On Zombie Dragon.
We can definitely check. Especially when we get to it, and if
Vampire
so,
Lord on
good.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
3+ save.
Good. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Nothing
most of
should
the
have a 4+
behemoth
save.
Heroes went to 3.
And it's going to be so easy to get him to a 2+ because that's what Mystic Shield is going to be doing in the future. So you're going to be a 2+
Yeah.
save ignoring Rend. That is going to be really difficult for KO to kill effectively. They're going to have to put way more into killing it. And you can't ignore Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Like, they will break your boat.
What's crazy is the Vengorian Lord is almost as durable as the Zombie Dragon, but it's like 40% cheaper. Anyways, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's a standout war scroll.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
awesome that the cool-looking thing actually has good rules. That's an oddity in this game.
The last dynasty worth noting is the Dalgo dynasty, the Veracruz dynasty.
Veracross.
Yeah. It's all the wolves and stuff.
The zombies and wolves.
This one is probably as competitive. And we'll see how things shake out, but I would assert, at least early on, this one looks to be as competitive as Legion Knight.
Yeah, it's got two primary abilities. It's got Strength of the Pack is the Wolf, which just adds 1 to rune rolls for, uh,
All
like,
units within, not wholly
yeah,
within, 9 of any heroes.
yep. Which is, it's great,
No,
but
it is
it's,
wholly within.
yeah,
Oh,
wholly within 9.
oh, fair enough.
And it's their Death Rattle and Death Walkers. So it's not actually going to affect, like, your dogs and bats. But
Which
the thing
is
that's
weird.
really important for the current meta is rerolling casting rolls for friendly Veracruz Dynasty Vampire Wizards.
Mm.
Like, that is big. Especially if you're fishing for those loci of Shaiish.
Yeah. If you like to gamble, re-rolling is awesome. Let's see.
And Virkos has some of the best named heroes outside of Manfred. Which you could even
And,
take Manfred in this. He just doesn't get all the same benefits.
yep,
I
and
don't know.
bonuses to casting.
Pack Alpha on Manfred would be pretty solid.
Like Belladonna, their main hero just has an innate +1 casting. So +1 casting rerolling. Anyone who plays Slans and Dracothian Tell knows that's good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all I do.
Yeah, and then Rudikar is great too. Like Rudikar is a beat stick that brings units onto the table. They're both like some of the best named heroes in the book.
Would you call him a beast?
I mean,
Yes.
no, because I have taste, but yeah, like
I can't.
moving on to command traits. Like I said, Pack Alpha lets you get a free command ability for every once per turn. On Manfred, this is awesome. A couple others can make really good use of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't put him on Manfred because he's a named hero.
Oh, that's right. God darn it, I keep forgetting that. It's because
Yeah,
lizards don't have named
But,
heroes, and actually neither does cities. Crap.
But like if you put this on to like a vampire lord, you can use their +1 attack characteristic ability. If you put this on a coven throne, you can get the +1 to wound, hit, and save. And it means, and it's and it ignores the nonsense from Lumineth where you double the cost.
Because it's free.
Well, and like all the generics, rerolling charge, all of that is great.
Let's see. They have essentially the old Death Rattle Battalion ability here, Spore Tractors. Not ideal, but it's something of note. If you really want to make your guys as fast as you can, you can.
Yep. It definitely helps, like, if you're trying to do, like, speedy zombies.
Yeah, speedy anything, but yeah, speedy zombies as well.
This is deceptively valuable too, because if you think about the typical like KO list that likes to do the hero phase, move Beric Zilfin in the hero phase, dump a 20 Thunderers on your doorstep. If they aren't familiar with how this army works, they just put themselves into combat with zombies without knowing they did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame you can't mix this ability with the one that lets you pile in 9.
Yeah.
It is, but
that'd be
still, like
ridiculous.
Thunderers like to
stupid.
get just outside.
But yeah, any artifacts that you guys particularly like?
I mean, Cloak of the Night Prowler. Bearer can pile in an extra 3 inches when they make a pile-in move.
That could be good on, again, I know I keep on going back to Vengorian Lord, but that'd be really good for the Vengorian Lord because all of a sudden having your zombies be +1 to their save from a corpse cart, and then assuming that works, which I think is a good assumption, you can have your zombies be ignoring range 1 with the Vengorian Lord nearby.
So that they have a save at all?
Mm-hmm.
Terminus Clock is also great. It's once per battle. You just get to subtract 1 from enemy casting rolls. Like, for the current meta, if you have an extra artifact slot, that's a pretty reliable way to fill it. Like, stopping Lumineth Realm Lords from getting their bow spell off is massive.
Yep.
So, being able to give yourself +1/+2 pretty easily with the subfaction, and then giving your opponent -1 on top of it. you've got a decent chance at stopping a lot of the enemy spells you want to stop in the current meta.
Mm-hmm. I'm not as big a fan of all these once per battle abilities, but yeah, it's the future
The
does not look
standard
bright.
of the Olfen Watch could be a good one to take against. Like, it's super situational, but it could be good depending on what your local meta is and what AOS 3 brings. Because if you can farm up a few extra CP for yourself.
Yeah, I think it's decent now. I think it will be bad in AOS 3, because from what I've heard for AOS 3, your command points are generated at the start of the round. They disappear at the end of the round.
Yes.
So
that is the general rumor.
It becomes a lot less good under those circumstances, because it's not like the ones you generate are going to stick around. So if it doesn't have anything left to help you, I don't know.
Yeah. But to get some of these wombo combos with like zombies and whatnot, you're looking at probably investing at least 3 CP. So if you can make that happen, then that's really good.
Yeah, which is really heavy for armies that don't generate their own.
But it basically, you're looking at your opponent needing to spend 3P on average for you to get 1 CP.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is,
I mean, it's just H the Corpse Brooch, but for your opponent's turn instead of your own, and people loved that back in the day.
Yeah, but that's because you can control it, right? Like, if I see my opponent use this, I'm like, okay, well, do I really need my command abilities? The answer for a lot of armies, even the top armies, is nope. So why would I feed you? And even to feed you, like, you're needing your opponent to use... You need your opponent to use 3 of them. Mm. So when I look at an artifact that says once per game, over the course of yours and your opponent's turn, get an extra CP each, I'd rather just take something else. Like, it has potential to be huge, but because of the changes that I think are coming with AOS 3, I don't know how much I would use it.
And again, on a 5+, it's not reliable. Do not count on it.
Yeah, it's once per game, and it's on a 5+, and it can be played around. Mm-hmm. And there's a good chance, like, turn order also really, really matters now as well. Like, it also relies on the third factor of, like, what's the turn sequence going to be?
Mm-hmm. Very 4D chess on a 3D chessboard.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Spell lores are next. We have Lore of Death Mages, and that is it.
Well, we should probably mention the other 2 dynasties that exist. There's Castelli, which is just the Blood Knight one, has 1 significant named hero, which is Prince Forti, which he's good, but whether or not you want to take this dynasty for it, and then other than that, it's got its role thing that's situational. It's not good. The relics are tepid. Avangori's the monster mash. It's probably the worst one of the book. There's probably some fun lists that might go 2 and 3 at events, but other than that, it's not super significant.
It has the best command trait name, Unhinged Rampager, though.
Reroll charges for general.
Yeah, I don't care what it does. I just like the name.
Yeah, fair enough. But, yep. They exist. Probably won't see them except in the for fun lists, because for fun lists do exist. But yeah.
Soul Blight does get a generic allegiance spell, though, similar to like Nurgle or other
Invigorating Aura. Casting value 8. Pick 1 summonable unit, so not everybody, just the guys you can summon on. Wholly within 18 of the casters, you can heal up to 3 wounds or return slain models that have combined wound characteristic of 3 or less to it. Add 1 to the casting roll for each hero on the battlefield, which is amazing. No unit can benefit this more than once per turn. Which means...
It's also each friendly hero.
Wait, no unit can benefit from this more than once per turn. Does that mean you can cast this more than once per turn?
You can cast it. Yeah, each wizard can cast it.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's solid.
Yep.
Yeah, and there will be a lot of Soul Blight Gravelords lists that have like 4 or 5 heroes. Combine that with some of the other bonuses, plus, you'll be casting this at a really big bonus.
Yeah, this is going to twin all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to be healing everything. Well, everything's summonable. So, yeah.
So you can still I think only 1 wizard can cast it. I'm going to double check. Friendly Soul Blight, blah, blah, blah. Any number. Okay, yeah, so they can all try it. Every Soulbright Gravelord's wizard can attempt to cast
Awesome.
a spell.
This is the only spell vampires will ever cast.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because the lore of vampires exists, guys. It's bad. There's one ability that lets you move faster. That's the only one that matters. Moving on.
Yep.
Lore.
Well, generic vampires.
And Amaranthian Orb isn't bad. Like,
That's
it's a
the
line
one I was.
attack.
Oh yeah.
It's a line attack. It's 9 inches. It goes off on a 6.
Doesn't hit your own guys.
Doesn't hit your own guys. Every enemy unit under that line on a 2+ takes D3 mortal wounds. It's as good as Celestial Deliverance, and there's a decent chance it'll go off twice. So I don't. Well, it's not as good. There's
No, it's definitely not as good.
Different.
Only if you set up really well, is it that as good?
Yeah, but like Legion of
The
Knights
range
will
hurts
definitely
it.
get use out of this.
Yeah, the range is what hurts it. On your squishy mages.
Yeah, but like you can put a wizard or like a vampire on a Bellwind Vortex
Manfred could use
and
this.
other stuff. Exactly, yeah.
Granted.
So,
I think he's got better spells to cast.
It's better than the Slan lore.
Yes. But that's not saying much. A cold cup of coffee is better than the slant lore.
Yeah, iced coffee's a thing.
No, I said cold cup of coffee.
Opinions
not
is
iced
going to
coffee.
be. Opinions going to be super common for like heroes on monster mounts to take
And
the
Vile
zombie
Trench
dragon.
Yeah, it makes you faster. Plus 6 inches to move, which is really good. But it's only on the same person and doesn't get to twin.
Mm-hmm.
Which is super unfortunate that the best spell they have access to is one that doesn't benefit from their lore abilities. But it's a thing.
Death, though, all of them are amazing.
Yes,
They're pretty much all
the lore of
debuff
Death
spells.
Mages is amazing.
They're like all debuff spells. There's like negatives to movements, negative to wound.
Negative to hit.
Yeah, the ones you're going to be looking to unbind are Decrepify and Overwhelming Dread.
Yep.
Fading Vigor is
Fading
also going to be
Vigor
prominent.
is really good.
Yeah, but especially
I mean,
for
Fading
like,
Vigor is essentially Geminids.
It is.
And
well,
it's not exclusive from Geminids either. Depending on what your local meta is, you could do both, and you can
But
give
it is
-2
exclusive.
attacks to something.
it is exclusive to melee, though.
Right.
And since it is like
Yes.
a shooting meta, especially for Seraphon, like it's not going to be as big of a deal for us to stop. Like Overwhelming Dread, Decrepify, that's what we're going to be looking to stop.
Unless you're up
Fading
against
Vigor's
my army.
amazing.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
just,
it's
but
just
from the
not the
perspective
problem
of
Yeah.
but from the perspective of like a Soul Blight Gravelord player, it's going to be one of the most common ones to take because like it's not going to be as much of a threat to Seraphon like that for sure. But there's lots of other things that you'll want to have this spell for, at least on someone somewhere kicking around.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely a good backup for the other when the other spells are already cast because you only get each one once.
Yeah. Prison of Grief is also just phenomenal. Like players that are good at using this they'll win games off of it. It goes off on a 6. Pick an enemy unit within 12 of the caster visible to them. Until your next hero phase, roll a dice each time that unit attempts to move. On a 5, the unit cannot move in that phase. Same unit can't be affected by it more than once. Stopping movement will win games.
Yep, and it includes pylons.
Yep, yeah. It's any time they try and make
Pretty
a
sure
movement.
does it affect charges? Are charges moves?
Charges or moves?
Okay, yeah. Then that's 3 instances where they could fail a roll and it completely stops them.
Oh, retreats too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Granted, no one's going to retreat from you because they can't get away anyway.
Yep. So yeah, those are all 3 spells that you want to be saving your unbinds for. Not that that's really a problem for Seraphon. Like most of the list I play, I seem to have like 8 of them.
Yeah. There's some really good stuff here. Like, oh man, when I saw Lore of Vampires, I'm like, oh no, poor Death. Because I didn't know they had a second one. And then I'm like, oh no, never mind, they're fine. Necromancers are the ones you're taking anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
they've
Vampire
got some
Lords will have to pick something.
Yeah. They've got some decent battalions. Like I think Red Banquet will be pretty common. It's 2+ Vampire Lords,
The problem is that's not bolded.
Oh yeah, no, it is Vampire Lords, and then 2+ units of Blood Knights. What that does is each unit heals D3 wounds in the hero phase.
Wait, 2+ units of death?
Yeah, this can be a one-drop in Castelli Dynasty because the Blood Knights. So that's one of the things we didn't talk about. But Blood Knights become battle line in the Castelli Dynasty. So this can be a Blood Knight-centric one-drop, which could be good. It won't win against some of the top armies, but it will probably go 2 and 3 or 3 and 2 in a lot of events.
Yeah, it'll be a great tub thumper.
It really benefits from min-sized unit Blood Knights as well, like spamming multiple small units of Blood Knights so that they're all healing an extra D3 wounds, and then you're potentially also benefiting from the hunger. Like you can give Blood Knights a lot of sustain. I just don't think Blood Knights are the best thing in the book.
I think they're still good, and everyone loves heavy calves. So those who want to play it, this is your thing. It's only 100 points. You're going to love this.
Yep. Death Stench Drove is going to be pretty common. It's 1 to 2 corpse carts, 2 units of dire wolves, 2 units of dreadwalker zombies. You get to add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by units in this battalion if they're wholly within 12 of any corpse cart. Like
until AOS 3, this will probably show up in almost every one.
Yes, until battalions go away.
Man, I'm really hoping that's just the rumor it is, but we'll see.
Well, they said it on their AOS 3 announcement stream.
No, they said that on their AOS announcement stream, they said there will be core ones, and that was it. They didn't say that the tome ones were disappearing. That's the rumor part.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's that way because I want to be able to use Saurus in the future someday. Because that's the part of the army I love.
Yeah. Death March is also going to be pretty common.
Yeah, Death March could be a one-drop. It won't be a good one-drop, but it could be a one-drop.
White King. Yeah, no, you're definitely bringing more heroes than this.
Oh, yeah. But it just adds 3 inches to movements for skeletons and stuff. That's good. Like you have to plan your zoning and phasing correctly, but it's not difficult to make good use of. And +3 movement almost doubles the movement of a bunch of things in that.
Did they put a super battalion in here? They put a super battalion in here.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Why? Yep. Nobody uses them. Nobody likes them. Stop wasting paper. Marathi didn't have one. I thought they'd learned their lesson.
Nagash looks like the same Nagash from OBR.
He is.
He didn't get another rework, thankfully.
No, he just got more expensive.
Yes. But that's because he can now be a soul blight.
Yeah. Everyone who loves that model, I'm so sorry.
He may be pointed for AOS 3. Like, if he can cast Mystic Shield on a bunch of stuff and then use his command ability, like, that's insane.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only one he can cast multiple times is the Bolt, isn't it? Arcane Bolt?
I thought he could cast Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield.
Yeah, but both of them are rumored to go back to... Yeah, both of them are rumored to go back to their old selves, and if he gets that, then yes, that would be why. Getting +1 save on everything near him would be amazing.
Yeah.
Or just to be able to chain gun 3 damage attacks, which is... What? Why? But yeah. On to War Scrolls?
Yep. Manfred stayed very similar. He's now a 3-up save instead of a 4.
He's actually different in a lot of little ways. Like, the more I looked at it, the more different he is.
He stayed true to his flavor, though. Like, he's still the outflanking hero. Like he always was.
Also, happy news for Death players. You are finally the faction with the most named characters. You finally surpassed Chaos.
Yeah.
And it is not close.
With most of them never going to see the tabletop.
That's named heroes in general.
That's because 7 of them are all from Cursed City.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That part's hilarious, but man, for all of us who don't have named heroes at all, yay you!
But he's still got the same armor of Templehof, which is the first wound you do to him, you don't. He's got the hunger, which is something that like every vampire thing has. if any models were killed by damage he did, he heals D3 wounds at the end of the combat phase.
He went up a wound and he kept the temple ability. So he's basically a 13 wound, 3-up save.
Yep. Well, he's more than that because it's each phase.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like that ability gives him a lot of survivability.
Mm-hmm.
His weapon stuff got better. Like, he's got some stuff that affects that. But what he's used for, he's still pretty much the same. His spell is way better. His command ability is fantastic. Like Wind of Death, his spell goes off on a 7. Pick an enemy unit within 18 of the caster visible. Roll a dice for each enemy or model in the enemy unit within 6 inches. On a 3+, they take D3 mortal wounds. Like, it really punishes castling, like looking at you, Lumineth Realm Lords.
Mm-hmm.
KO, where they try and hide in the corner of the field. When you take this in Legion of Night and you just deep strike in, and then you pop them and you deal D3 mortal wounds to a bunch of units.
Yep. Anything that just clusters up. Death Stars aren't as common as they used to be, but they're still in the game, and some of the best armies use them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, Fire Slayers
It is only 18 inches out, though.
Yeah, but, I mean...
That'll cover pretty much everything.
Yeah, it'll cover where you want it a lot of the time.
It won't hit KO when they're deploying in a corner away from Manfred. Like, once you see Manfred go down, you can be like, okay, I'll pick this other corner, and then it'll probably be okay.
He was talking about deep striking Manfred. You wouldn't know.
Yeah,
where
for the double turn.
Like, but then that's after the hero phase, and you're hoping for the double turn to be able to use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's true of a lot of key strategies nowadays.
Yep. And then Vigor of Undeath is his command ability. It's once per turn in your hero phase. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for friendly Soulblight Gravelords units wholly within 12.
Which is really good.
Yep. +1 hit and wound.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
I can see this guy happening.
Yeah, this will affect zombies and.
Yep. Especially if you're taking this in Zero Code.
And he can what?
Until,
And he can bop out of combat at the start of combat if he doesn't like where he's at, or you just want to redeploy him to make sure his auras are in place.
Yep.
You can just move him if he's in combat with something at the start of the combat phase, which is awesome.
And he's a level 2 wizard. Like, he knows 2 spells. He doesn't have any innate bonuses, so that's a bit rough.
Against anyone who isn't a top magic army, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's someone that you'll see a lot.
And don't forget, when he kills something, just like what we saw earlier with that relic, +1 to attacks characteristics for everything that's summonable within 12 inches if he kills a model. So, like, there's also motivation to keep him in combat. And that's where we're talking about the +2 attack earlier.
Yeah, he's going to be a fun one, and you're going to see him a lot. Because people like Manfred, sort of.
Yep. Nerf Errata changed a decent amount. Like, she's not the, like, massive support debuffer that she used to be. But she does have a chance to just outright kill heroes. If she inflicts any damage with
so she's vulnerable to that one artifact we were talking about.
Yeah, Akhmet Heart. Well, no, because it doesn't affect that. It would only do 1 damage to her. Oh, yeah, but then it would be inflicted by it. You're right, yeah.
Yep.
On a 5+, that hero's slain if they took any damage from it, which is neat. Like, all the Mortarks for the Vampire Mortarks have a lot of attacks. Like, they're shockingly killy compared to what they used to be. They're all pretty fast, like 16-inch movement now.
Yeah, GW is
Manfred
slowly...
has, 18 attacks?
Yeah.
Neferata's the same.
Yeah, like the Abyssal Talons, like their steeds are actually impactful now.
GW is slowly learning its lesson that named heroes actually have to be good because you can't do anything with them.
Yep. She's got Frightful Touch, which is like the normal Frightful Touch stuff. She's also a level 2 wizard. Her spell is Dread Mist, goes off on a 6. Pick a Gravelord's unit wholly within 12. Ignore negative modifiers when making save rolls for attacks. Like, that's solid if you're trying to build, like, damage resistant castles. Like that's when you're going to see Neferata.
Yeah, and it's not just melee attacks like what we've seen
Yes,
before, or
exactly.
it's any attack.
Yep. Her command ability is also pretty solid. Twilight's Allure. Once per turn in your hero phase, if you do so, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target your Gravelord units wholly within 12. So she's very much like the castle build, which doesn't really seem to be Legion of Blood's thing.
Well, no, they take Death Rattle. Like Legion of Blood benefits Death Rattle a ton, and like when we get to the Death Rattle skeletons, like that makes like it gets really you start stacking up a fair bit of tank. Like whether or not it'll resist like S tier armies, probably not, but it stacks up quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like Viracos or like Legion of Night, which all have already bonuses towards the. I don't know, like. Although if you can only stack to 1 anyways, then it won't really matter. Like
a lot of what we're saying now hinges very heavily on 3rd edition.
Yeah.
And what changes it makes. A lot of things are up in the air.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, so like much more defensive, solid take if you want to do like if you want to try to build towards being a castle that sits in the middle of the table and scores.
Yep, a lot of battle plans can definitely benefit from that.
Yep. So I don't know how much it's worth hitting all the heroes. You'll see Vordry pretty often. He's a beatstick vampire lord on a zombie dragon. So anyone who just wants to build like a monster mash, you can expect to see Vordry.
Well, you'll see him with the Blood Knights because that's the dynasty he goes in. He goes into Blood Knight Castelli dynasty, and he is pretty darn killy. So there's a list option there.
Yeah,
he's
his lance is insane. It's like 4 damage or 2 rend, 6 attacks on 3s and 3s, I think.
His
it's one of the few places you get 2 rend in this arc.
3s and 3s, rend 2/2. His dragon is 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, rend 2d6.
No, I mean when he charges, he gets +1 rend and +2 damage.
Yes. Yeah, rend 3, damage 4. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's gonna do his job. I'm not sure if he's worth 500 points.
And he benefits.
450, but yeah.
Well, and he benefits from the synergies that give +1 attack. Like you put him next to a regular vampire lord, and he gets +1 attack characteristic. And you put him next to Manfred, or you put him next to other things, and all of a sudden you're stacking up +2, +3 attacks on this. That's insane.
Yep. It's a
not
lot
likely
of
to happen because you're sinking 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And in all likelihood, he's going to be overkilling what he hits anyways. But yes, if like you ended up having to go against like something that's really difficult to kill, he is definitely able to crack it. Like he's scarier than Maw Crusher.
To be perfectly honest, I think he has a good chance against Hearthguard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that heavy of a hitter. Should we move on to Jacob's favorite hero that he's been talking about?
Belladama.
The Vengorian Lord or Belladama. I like them both a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess Vengorian Lord is before. Yep.
Yeah, the name the Vengorian Lord is okay, but you can't take command traits and relics on it. And I don't really like its command ability. The other 2 things that we're skipping over are the Underworld Warband and whatever with that. But yeah, the Vengorian Lord, 280 points, which is great. 10 wounds, 12-inch move, 3-up save, which is awesome. And then 10 bravery. He's pretty killy, not as killy as a vampire lord, not quite as durable, but like 40, like he's 40%, he's like 20% less durable and 20% less killy, but 40% cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a -1 rend aura to a minimum of AP dash or rend dash. Like, and when you can count for that, he's probably more durable than a zombie, a vampire lord on zombie dragon.
And these are the centaur vampires, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
That's
kind of a controversial sculpt, but I like it a lot.
Hold your tongue. Mother of Nightmares is amazing.
So,
Oh,
My only
it's controversial.
question-
Some people like it, some people don't.
Fair enough.
My only question is, do they have one or two belly buttons?
Huh?
And if so, where?
It'd be one usually if we're talking centaurs.
Okay, so then is it on like the horsey half?
Human half. If we're
Okay.
talking about all media that has ever been depicted, it's always the human, and there's only one.
All right. Well, the great question has been answered.
And if you look at the model, you can't see it on the lower half, so it's under that armor.
Yeah, but they also don't
No.
give them other things that are on the lower half.
Well, they're made out of magic. It very well might be that that they don't have them.
The controversial rule that it has is the undeniable impulse. If you roll the battle round number or lower, you can't cast, but you can run and charge, and you have to make this roll. Like, you don't get a choice on it.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, especially because at least the Mother Nightmare spell is really good.
It is a cool throwback to the old Vampire Courts rule, one bat short of a belfry. So that makes me happy, like that they included something that was a bit of a throwback to that. But yeah, it is arguably a detriment, just because it's inflexible.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate one. The
It
rest of it's
spells okay.
fun. What,
Yeah,
the having
Clotted
charge rate?
Deluge.
Huh? Oh, I'm talking about Death's Downpour. Casting value of 8 is successful. Charge rolls made for enemy units within 12 of this model are halved until your next hero phase.
Yep.
Oh, we're looking at two different war scrolls right now.
Yeah, I'm looking
we're
at
talking
Mother of
about
Nightmares, and you're
Clock
looking
Revive.
at the standard one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Death's Downpour is great, though. Like, it's a Khorne Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince.
Yep, only she casts it and then can move, so she can move to
Exactly.
tap people and keep her unit safe. It's a really good one if it goes off.
Yep.
But unfortunately, undeniable impulse. That's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Queen Amongst Monsters is an awesome command ability name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just just a fun name.
The flavors and names in this book, they nailed it. It's not quite as good as Skaven, but it's close.
Or Nurgle.
Mm-hmm.
Nurgle has some special ones.
It's very much Nurgle.
Clotted Deluge is great, though. That's the standard spell. It goes off on a 6, so really easy to get. You pick an enemy unit within 12 and visible, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks that target that unit until your next hero phase. It has to be with melee weapons, so it's not like the Lumineth Realm Lords one, where they get to pick a unit and then get to add 1 when they shoot it. But it's still really useful, and your army's melee driven anyway, so you're not missing out.
And then the command abilities. The Festering Feast is situationally neat. I don't know because you're going to be CP hungry, so I don't know if you'll be spending CP on this very often.
Yeah, but just healing D6 wounds that are allocated to a unit, that's pretty handy. It's like the old Blood Chalice, except you can keep using it for a command point, and it doesn't have to be on themselves.
Yeah. Should we move on to standard stuff? We essentially have to
it's
touch on 4 things.
Belladonna...
The Festering
Volga.
Feast...
Festering Feast?
Just a real quick note on Festering Feast. It's predicated on having killed a unit before you can use that command ability.
Yeah, it's... I always am sad to see command abilities like that, like the Lord Celestant command ability, like any of those ones that make you do a thing before you can use them. I'm not a huge fan of, but still, like, Chalice of Blood is Chalice of Blood. It's pretty solid. Belladonna Volga, I think, is pretty much an auto-include for a lot of lists. She's a level 2 wizard. She gets an innate +1 to casting.
And she's only 200 points.
Yeah, she's really cheap. Like, a level 2 wizard +1 to cast is, like, almost as good of a slam in terms of point efficiency for good caster.
Yep. Or like a Grey Seer, because they're also really cheap.
Yeah.
Double cast wizards.
Yep, and like having that
And
built-in
she's-
+1.
She's fast. She's got a 10-inch move. She's got 9 wounds. Only a 4-up save, but she's pretty chunky for what is basically a support hero.
Yep. And she has a 3+ shrug for wounds and mortal wounds. Like, she's solid. She's only got a 4+ save instead of a 3-up. Like, she's a lower on the save characteristic for a lot of things. But that's pretty typical for the Veer Coast Dynasty heroes. They seem to have the lower saves. Like Radikar.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be berserkers, so they aren't really focused on defense.
Yep. But she's amazing.
Lichen Curse is devastating.
Yes. Yeah, her spell Lichen Curse. Yeah, you'll see Belladama in pretty much every Veercross list, and she's a priority target.
Yeah, so Lichen Curse goes off on a 7, a 6 for her because she's always +1 or whatever other modifiers you give.
Oh, that's insane! Why? Sorry, guys. So I just read it.
Something into combat.
Yeah.
So you do D3 mortal wounds to something, and for each model killed, you make for the total number of models killed with the D3 mortal wounds, you add that many dire wolves as a unit to your army, which means whatever you just mortal wounded, if you killed something, is now in combat.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
it works like the Arcanite Magistrate spell, where you can turn people into chaos bombs.
Yeah, which is really good. It just pins people down.
Yep.
And yeah, that is crazy.
So, like, you get
an average of 10 direwolves over the course of the battle while doing mortal wounds. That's hilarious.
And not only that, but it's really good against, like, Sentinels who are in Shining Company and now can't pile in more than an inch and have 1-inch reach. So, like, you hit it on the corner of their unit, and now they're stuck having to shoot dire wolves instead of the things they want to.
Yeah, that's the main benefit. Actually, well, if they survive that long, yeah.
But they're in Shining Company.
Well, here's
here's
the important thing.
The direwolves, because they have to go through a round of combat first.
Yeah, but that's why it's so good against Sentinels.
If
AOS 3's charge reactions require a unit to not be in combat in order to have the charge reaction, you just took away something's charge reaction, which is amazing.
Yes.
Yep.
That's huge. And Killing Moon's not bad either, under the Killing Moon. That's the other spell she knows. Like, not only is she a level 2 wizard, she comes with 2 known spells, plus a lore spell. So you're not like a level 2 wizard that's just going to be casting Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield. But under the Killing Moon goes off on a 6, so a 5.
Let's see.
If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a Soul Blight Gravelord's melee weapon, wholly within 12 of the caster, is a 6, it hits 2 hits instead of 1 hit.
Oh yeah, that's always a great buff.
Which is great for a lot of things.
Yes.
Like, that's just great in general.
Yep.
Exploding 6s, good. So, like, she's a priority kill. Like, you want her off the table as soon as you can take her off the table. Annika and the Rat Prince are both whatever. Like, the Rat Prince is cool. When he dies, he wants to come back. It's similar to, like, the one Corn hero who does that. Radukar,
in AOS 3, Lady Annika could become good if the amount of CP has anything to do with how many generals you have.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're trying to farm generals to get CP.
It'd be crazy.
Radikar the Beast is cool. He just gets to summon 10 direwolves for free. So he basically is like, 135 points cheaper than he actually is.
Radikar, he's like under 200 points when you count that.
Yep. Because he's 315
he's
points. Yep, but minus 135 because he just for free gets to add 10 direwolves. And he's a decent combat hero. He's got 12 attacks across 2 different profiles that are 3s and 3s, rend 1, 2 damage, or D3, which can be read as 2. So yeah, he's just a bucket of attacks. And he's fast. He moves 12, or moves 8, has 12 wounds.
And he's a source of +1 attack.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There's
and
a
he's
lot of
naturally
plus
minus
one
one to
attack.
hit. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
This is another very heavy synergistic army.
There's all the
Yep,
heroes
this army is a
from
ball of synergy.
Yeah,
there's all the heroes from Cursed City. They don't matter.
they don't matter.
Um,
Moving on.
Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is pretty much
He's like the Prince above, only slightly worse.
yep. But you can give him
Oh,
command
and you can
trait.
take a command trait and a relic, which
Yep.
has value.
Yeah, indeed, yes. And he's cheaper.
Like, he's a good missile general.
Yep. In terms of like base army units that are going to be seen a lot, it's pretty much going to be Blood Knights, skeletons, and zombies, in my opinion.
Yep, Direwolves and Graveguard.
Yeah, those are three of the...
Yep.
Yeah, Direwolves and Graveguard. Graveguard are a little bit overpriced. Direwolves are
They're
good.
good.
I don't...
Mostly you'll
But
see
they're
them because
cheap.
they're in that battalion with zombies.
Mhm.
Yep. And they're a great fast dart. Like they're really good at running upfield and screening or pinning and picking an enemy unit on the corner, that sort of thing. They're a great utility unit. They're not quite as good of it as Fellbats, but there's battalions that make you bring them.
Yeah, I'm so happy that Fellbats are still like meme good, like not actually good, but good enough that you can make jokes about them.
I'm sad they got rid of the bat swarms.
Yeah, bat swords were hilarious. You could get like 7 attacks on them.
And you
Was
could
it-
like the way they concealed targets for shooting and stuff. I don't know. They were great.
Mm-hmm.
The Blood Knights do warrant a little bit of attention because they're kind of one of the standouts, at least popularity-wise. You're going to see them a lot.
Everyone loves Blood Knights. Always have.
And they're quick. They're quick.
They're 10-inch move, 3 wounds, 3-up save. You're going to see this paired with a Coven Throne. Often you want to target the Coven Throne because the Coven Throne can give +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 to save. Like, it's really good. And then all the +1 attacks things we've been going over, these guys can be the beneficiary of a lot of that.
Even without buffs, Blood Knights are better than Gorgruntas, and Gorgruntas are notoriously good heavy cav.
Yep.
These guys are awesome. Not the best thing in the book, but they're awesome.
Yeah. They're basically Chaos Knights +1. Like they're 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage, but it becomes 2 when they charged. They've got 1 better save than Chaos Knights.
1 better wound.
1 better wound. No, Chaos Knights have 3 wounds.
Oh, do they? Never mind.
Yep. Yeah, so they're pretty much just a Chaos Knight +1. But Blood Knights cost significantly more for that +1. Like, oh no, yep, they do. They're 195.
195.
That's the other weird
195 for
thing
5.
about this book. So many points are on a divider of 5 instead of 10.
I don't understand it. It's not a good system, but it's there.
Yep. But yeah, 195 versus 160. So you're paying 35 more points. Like they're pretty solid. You're going to see them a lot. Like, and they can with a Coven Throne get demonic and power. Like they're pretty much Chaos Knights.
Yeah, they're just fun.
Yeah, they go to their Templar Lance on the charge with that command ability is 2s and 2s, -1, 2 damage. Their hooves and teeth are 3s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage, and they're a 2-up save.
Yep. But you like bring them with Belladonna and give them like exploding 6s, and like there's a bunch of different things you can do to synergize off of them to make them really brutal.
Now, we'll probably go over it in a little bit, but one of the weaknesses is usually you're going to have to pick what you want to synergize. And a lot of times you'll want to take like I think there'll be a lot of lists where you see like a unit of like 10 or 15 Blood Knights. Like it's just a solid include for take all comers list.
Yeah, and they're pretty low skill cap to use effectively. Like they're just a good standalone unit. They don't need buffs in order to be effective. So if you're playing like an army where you need to use a bunch of buffs, like if you mess up, they're fine.
Yes.
Like you're not overpaying if you don't support them. You don't have to support them and they're still worth their points. In an army where that's not the case for like zombies, skeletons, the other things, you have to use the support to make them worth their points. That makes Blood Knights very plug and play.
Which is always valuable. It's
And
why
they'll be, depending on what you're going against, you'll probably be looking at like, do I synergize my zombies or do I do my blood knights? And you'll probably be kind of like picking where you allocate as you deploy.
Yep. Well, and zombies are slow, blood knights are fast. So like turn 1, you missile your blood knights, and then after that you come in with your waves of hordes.
Yep. But,
right, they're a good shock troop.
The other ones you're likely to see are the Dreadwalker zombies in the graveyard.
Well, so there's one more really important thing about blood knights.
Oh, okay.
Riders of Ruin. In
Oh,
your movement phase, if this unit's within 3 inches of an enemy unit, it can make a normal move. If it does so, it can pass across other models with a rune characteristics of 3 or less that do not have a mount in the same manner as a model that can fly. After it's made that move, roll a dice. Each enemy unit that has any models pass across on a 2+ takes D3 mortal wounds.
This is retreat and charge, but with fly. It's amazing.
And deal 10 mortal wounds.
10?
On top of it.
Wait, 10? Oh, any model.
Yeah, it's
pass across
models,
by
right?
any models, not each.
Yep. So deal 2 mortal wounds. Never mind. But still, it's amazing.
Yeah. These guys love to charge. They will always charge. They also can't be screened. They nothing stop these guys. It's amazing.
It makes it really easy to keep your Martial Fury Lance ability for the +1 attack damage up. It's important. It's what makes Blood Knights worth their points, in my honest opinion.
Because they can jump over everything. They hit like a truck.
Yep.
And they're just cool. Everyone liked them before. They like them now.
Their kit is terrible to assemble. I don't like their kit at all. So just be prepared for a little bit. Ready yourself mentally.
It's not Finecast. It's not Finecast.
No, but there's some Finecast kits I've put together that are easier to assemble and better to assemble than this.
Do their arms warp so they no longer fit the model?
No,
then
so you have
fine.
the rider torso. Well, no, wait. You have the rider torso and legs sit between the two halves, and it's an asymmetric arc shape that can slide around because it doesn't have any registration in there. Well, one of the models does, but so you can end up in a situation where you've glued. Yeah, so you try to glue the rider in, and then the other half of the horse doesn't glue in because you're 1/10 of a millimeter off, and like all these things have to line up perfectly, or else you end up with this giant crack down the whole center of the model.
So it's Source Knights.
You have to dry fit everything. In fact, my advice is dry fit everything, pressure hold it together, and then use plastic weld instead of using glue. That way you can get
that might be a better way to do it. Use the plastic weld.
Yep. Yeah, because that's what I did for my Chaos Knights, because it's the same thing with them. I built the first set of 20. I buy too much with glue, and then the next set I did with plastic weld.
The only other complaint I have about their kit is there's no detail on the underside of the model, like just none at all, which won't be seen once they're on the tabletop. But when you're assembling it, seeing that like the entire bottom of the horse is just a flat panel is kind of a little bit sad.
I mean, that's kind of the opposite of what GW does. Normally they put detail in that will never be seen because there are other parts of the model that completely cover it. Like that.
It's actually pretty typical for cavalry, though.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. That's how my my demigryphs are.
Yeah, and that's how like Chaos Marauder horsemen are. That's how Saurus Knights are. Like they have some detail, but like you look at their arms and it's just like a block rectangle underneath them. A lot of cavalry gets that treatment.
Yeah, because no one will ever see it.
Doesn't mean I like it.
Yep.
All right. Should we touch on the other
other
two?
Than the person that's paying money for it sees it. Every person that pays money for Blood Knights will see that there's no detail on the other side of the model.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other important heroes are the Necromancer. He only matters because of Van Hell's Dance Macabre. It lets a unit be able to fight more than once a turn.
As long as it's got the summonable keyword.
Yep. And I think now it lasts until the next hero phase, right?
Yeah, it goes until the next hero phase. So depending on how your stars align, you can get 3 double fights out of one Van Hell's Dance Macabre.
Yep, where it used to only affect the next combat phase.
Unfortunately, it doesn't twin because that
it's
would
in
be
a lore
awful.
scroll, not a lore.
Yep. So you'll see those a lot. You'll also see Mortis engines, and you'll see Coven
Mortis
Thrones.
engines and Coven Thrones. The Bloodseeker Palanquin to a lesser degree, but not so like they're all the same kit, but like, yeah.
Yep, and they're just good support engines. Like after you've killed, normally instead of killing the thing that they are supporting, you want to kill them.
Yeah, so the Tactical Insight, use this for the Coven Throne. Use this command ability at the start of your hero phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Soul Blight Graveslord unit wholly within 12 until your next hero phase. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this unit, and add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this unit. The same unit cannot be the subject to this ability more than once.
Yep. Yeah, it's
like that's why you take the
fantastic.
Coven Throne. It's really good.
Yep.
Like pop that on the Blood Knights. That's why I was talking about the, all the super buffed Blood Knights.
Yeah.
You can put it to other things too.
Corpse Carts aren't heroes, but they are support units. They're just there to support hordes of zombies. You can either give wizards +1 to casting when they're near them, or you can add 1 to save rolls for zombies, which doesn't currently matter, but is probably going to matter in AOS 3. And if I were playing against anyone, and if I were TOing at a tournament, I would expect to rule that this currently works anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously...
Yeah, if you're a Soul Blight player and you're going to be taking this to an event, talk to the TO and ask them to rule on if save dash means save 7, because that's the way a lot of people tend to play it, and that's the way the rules tend to read and the way this book tries to make them work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Should we address the elephant in the room?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the most common unit you will see out of this army by far is probably Deadwalker zombies.
Yeah.
They're
amazing.
They are. Like, I don't think that they're world-ending, like some of the people who I've talked to have said, but they are definitely scary.
I mean, I don't see a world where I would feel limited if I brought 5 max-sized units of them.
Because they're cheap.
They're so cheap.
I think... But the kits are expensive. But I think
that's why.
A good place you'll end up landing for a lot of Soul Blight players will be 2 blocks of 40, because then you have a little bit of redundancy and you have a lot of board coverage, but you're not necessarily investing in a lot of expensive kits, and you're not spending your entire life in your movement phase.
Fair, but yeah. I think
because
if you spam zombies, you can take this book from A tier to S tier.
Are they on 25s?
You can play them fast enough.
Yes,
they're on 25s, correct.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
But still,
I play Skink again, and
that
it
help.
doesn't. It's okay. It's not going to help enough. Moving. Moving 200 models is not easy. Moving 200 melee models is harder. Moving 200 slow models that also do weird movement shenanigans.
That's why you play Legion of Night, so you don't have to move them as many times.
So you do have I've built movement trays that hold other movement trays. So you have your entire unit on a set of movement trays that sit in a movement tray.
And I have magnetic snap ones. It's doable, but no one's going to. No one's going to paint 200 of these things.
So you'll see it, I'm sure. But those are going to only be 2 round games, which won't be great. It'll be one of those things where if you see it, have a chess clock on hand. Not that I think players often try to purposefully slow play, but you want to make sure you get your half of the game as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Dreadwalker zombies at first blush do not look good. They move 4, they have 1 wound, they have no save, but they do have a bravery 10. 1 attack, 5s and 5s, no rend, 1 damage. The thing is, they are cheap. They buff well, and their abilities are bonkers.
Dragged down, torn apart.
Yep. They have a pile-in of 6, which is crazy. Very few things in the game. I think one other thing in the entire game has this, and it's what made Ogres at all playable before they got their book.
Slaanesh has always been able to do this.
And so they got a pile-in of 6. And they're eligible to fight within 6.
Yeah.
Yep, which is what Slaanesh can do.
Yeah, that's what pile in any bonus
yeah,
is.
It's huge.
Yeah. They also
the
have
Newly Dead.
Wait,
Newly
there's
Dead. On hit rolls of 6, it inflicts a mortal wound. If for each any model that was killed on a 2-up, you can add an additional Deadwalker zombie model to this unit. It's not heal, you just add one.
And it's not capped.
Yep. So
now let's
you really
let's
don't want to
think
get
about
hit
this.
first by these.
let's just role play a real quick scenario. Barrack Zilfin drops 20 Thunderers on your doorstep within 6 inches. You have 40 zombies right there. You pop 2 command abilities, give them +2 attacks. And let's say you get 30 of the 40 in because Thunderers have a ton of frontage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 180 attacks. That's
4s and
20 mortal
4s?
wounds. That's
I'm guessing 4s and 4s?
yeah, you can do the 4s and 4s, but yeah, just the mortal wounds, like without even worrying about the other stuff yet. That's 10 dead Thunderers. That's adding 10 zombies to that list, and they can just continue to wrap around and pull the Ironclad into combat right behind.
Yeah, they are crazy, and they can. Granted, it takes good positioning play, and it takes good CP generation and/or management, because you guys don't have CP generation, do you?
Not really,
Do
no.
not. So only
So-
is going to be battalions and whatever
it's
other shenanigans.
Really
comes out.
hoping on 3rd edition to keep you guys this working for more than a turn.
Yeah, it'll really have, like, whether or not this is like a B tier army or an high A tier army when AOS 3 comes out. Like, it might be a high A tier army with an S tier build, depending on how things handle
Yeah.
with AOS 3.
Yeah, because if CP generation is common and effective, this will be terrifying, because you'll be able to do it more than once a game. Maybe twice, but your zombies will be dead by the second time.
They're also still going to have their built-in abilities. Like, Newly Dead and Drag Down and Torn Apart are good enough on their own.
Yes.
Like, you don't actually have to support zombies in order to get them to do what
Yeah.
you want them to do. They just
This is one of
benefit
those
from
things I was
support
talking
really
about.
well.
Yeah, this is one of those things I was saying, like, at the end of the game, like when you're getting late into the game, like you want to play out your rounds, because you can bring back 20 zombies and they can change the course of a game late game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you place your grave sites well, and all of a sudden you're popping up 20 zombies, and you get that 9-inch charge to bring them in, and then they still pile in 6 inches.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can do work, and they're cheap. You can get a lot of them. It's mainly how patient are you at painting, because you're not only going to have to paint the ones you have, but
Dude.
also the ones you add.
Contrast paint.
Only
like,
goes so
here's what
far.
You take a bike tire and you tape one to each of the edges of the bike tire, and then you just like spin the bike tire through a little trough of craft paint.
There you go.
Oh man.
Yeah, you paint with the dip method.
Yeah. Even
paint it with
then,
the
these
dip
guys
method
are
and
going to be
spin the
hard.
wheel.
Man. Yeah, you're not only going to have to paint the 80 you're using, but also another additional probably
20 to 40.
20 to 40.
Yeah, you'll have to some extras for that rule. I've got
Yeah.
10 extra right now myself for that.
Death Rattle Skeletons and Sepulchral Guard are Grave Guard. Yep, Grave Guard.
No,
are pretty
Grave
much
Guard.
the same.
Yes.
They still have their
No,
trumpet.
they're not the same. They're not the same at all.
Right. Sepulchre
So
Yeah,
Guard
they're
the
is
Grave
got
Guard
better.
can be a
Warband.
4-up save? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
their
Sorry, you were
shields got
talking about the
better.
Sepulchre.
Yeah.
Their
So-
shields got better. That's for sure.
Okay. I thought you were
Yeah, their
comparing to Grave
shields
Guard.
aren't
Like, that's
useless. Their shields aren't useless, which was the whole problem with them FO4.
So Graveguard are a little bit overpriced, but they're 3s and 4s -1 flat 2 damage for the Great White Blade. You take the White Blade, you get +1 their save, so they're 3s and 3s -1 4-up save. They do mortal wounds on 6s to wound, and
Yeah, instead of doing two
they get
damage.
yeah.
You know, I think I think that they mixed up the zombies and the Graveguard's mortal wound generation.
Huh.
It would
Yeah,
make
so Graveguard
way
can
more
generate
sense.
mortal wounds on 6s, which helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the flat 2 damage attacks helps a lot. Now it's -1 to wound compared to other things, but you can buff that as we've seen in the book.
Yeah. And it used to be that their great weapons on a 6 to hit, or was it wound, dealt 1 extra damage.
Yeah.
Now they're just straight flat out always at 2 damage. And they didn't go up
Mm-hmm.
much in points, if I remember
Yeah.
right.
And didn't their shield used to be
They're
if
like
it doesn't
130
have
points for
rend?
10 or something.
Yeah, if it
Yeah,
doesn't have
which
rend
is
plus
good.
1.
Yeah,
Sorry, we're
But,
talking over each other.
but now it just gives a straight +1 save.
Yep. Yeah, so like that's the reason we used to bring Razor Dons, was because back in like the Legions of Nagash era, you just got to say skeletons don't have a save.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they fixed that, which is good.
But yeah, and they're both pretty solid. Skeletons aren't the auto include they used to be, because it used to be that spears were incredible, but now their spears have 1 range for
Yep.
some godforsaken reason.
Yep.
So
Now you're gonna
skeletons
see
are going to
zombies.
be the tar pit.
Oh yeah.
So you can have 30 skeletons, 4-inch move, 1 wound, 5 up save, which is that's better. The their hit and wound are better. What makes them good
Is Skeletal Legion.
is they can now reroll Deathless minions, and they get Skeletal Legion. And you combine that with Van Hell's Dance Macabre, and all of a sudden you're returning 75% of the unit. So you have them fight at the very end, and they fight twice. Each time they you roll on a 4-up, you get what was dead back, which you can use that to creep onto objectives. It's really good.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is the durable half of this army.
so yeah, I get. I'm wondering if Skeleton Legions is going to get an FAQ, because they specified this time when returning units through the invocation, Deathly Invocation, that they have to be set up within 3, like you can't chain anymore with Deathly Invocation. Currently, you can change with Skeleton Legion. So I'm kind of expecting that to get FAQ'd so that they can't.
They haven't FAQ'd similar rules. Like Necrons, they never FAQ'd their RP protocols. So they may FAQ it. We'll see different rules writings teams, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. It feels like an oversight since they specifically did it for Deathly Invocations this time.
Yep. Let's see. Is there anything we still need to cover?
We probably need to at least mention dire wolves, because you can summon them.
I thought we already did.
There's multiple ways to summon them. We talked about them in reference to other war scrolls, but they get +1 to hit and wound rolls if they made a charge. They have a champion with +1 attack. They're okay killing wise, 2 attacks, 4 and 4 is no rend, but really they're fast. They're not that expensive, and they're 2 wounds a pop.
Mm-hmm.
They've only got a 5-up save. But
Everything in this army only has a 5-up save.
And they didn't go up in points, but they doubled in models. So it's 135 or 10 instead of, I think it was like 120 for 5 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So they got significantly cheaper.
Yeah, that right there is Soul Blight. A heavy horde army with good heroes that you do not want to get into melee with.
Like the trick to beating them. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was probably starting the same thing, but like the biggest thing for a Seraphon player would be horde breaker spells and abilities, target their heroes, and zone their grave sites.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to kill the heroes.
And screen well. A lot of the stuff that's dangerous in this book, except for Blood Knights, can be pretty nerfed pretty hard by screening well.
Yeah, they don't have shooting really to speak of.
Right.
Yeah. You can.
Though their shooting should. If you see a bunch of Mortis engines, be ready for a lot of mortal wound spam. Like, it's not a good list, but it might be somebody that somebody cheekily takes. You get the Whales of the Damned, and the Reliquaries that are once per game.
Oh yeah, it's like the 6 Thunder Tusk list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep. The big thing is just zoning the table, which is why Legion of Night is difficult. Like Legion of Night, you just have to play smart. Like if you play smart against Legion of Night, Seraphon absolutely has the tools to beat them. Like even if you're not running Dracothian's Tale, like even like any Starborn Legion should be able to deal with Legion of Night.
Yep, and if you're playing competitively, you're playing Starborn.
Yep, even Thunder Lizard should be fine against Legion of Night.
Yeah, Seraphon's a strong matchup against this just because their ability to mortal wound at range. Like, it's going to be hard on Soul Blight to fight them.
Yeah, you're just going to whittle down their heroes, like do all that splash damage. Use Stellar Tempest every turn. Like, you should always be casting it.
Yep. And focus down units. Don't just leave them alive, because zombies can... Actually, you want to leave, like, 5 left with zombies. Because otherwise they come back with 20.
It depends on where they end up on the board.
Yeah, it depends on where you can zone their grave sites and stuff.
Yeah.
It might be risky to leave 5 zombies up when they're next to a unit of 10 skinks.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, on average they would kill a skink and have a pretty good chance of getting a zombie back. Unless you buffed a unit of 5 zombies, which is pretty much wasting your buffs.
That's true.
Depends on how late into the game you are. And some of those abilities just go off. Like, if you have a Manfred there and he kills a model...
Yeah,
well, if Manfred is swinging into 10 skinks, then their skinks are dead. It doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't have to be the skinks that Manfred's swinging into. He could be swinging into something else and kill something in his combat. And then everything within 12 gets the +1 attack.
Yeah, that's got to be in the same.
Just something to keep in mind.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. All in all, they're a solid book. Like, I think, generically speaking, they're mid A tier. But I do think 200 zombies is an S tier army, especially in Legion of Night.
Good luck with that.
In the abstract, I can kind of agree, but you have to have the ability to manage the action economy. You have to move fast. You have to know the army inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
You have to know what you're going to do. You can't him and haw. You don't have the time.
I mean, that's honestly though that's all the S tier armies. Like, half of Seraphon players aren't winning games, and the other half are winning all of them.
Well,
same for Disciples of Tzeentch, same for Carriage and Overlords. Like that.
But this one's less because you won't win and more because you won't even play, because there's just too much to do. It's not I don't know my game plan. It's I have to get through all of this all the time. Moving 200 models is not easy. This is why no one does it.
Like,
yeah, you could not
I've
do
played
it
a 200 model list before.
I have too. I played Stalingrad Skinks all the time. I'm very good at it, but it's not something most people do.
So, but yeah, like, even with movement trays, you're still having to do a bunch of pylons. You're having to count attacks. You're still having to do a bunch of charging, that kind of stuff. And it takes
literally
time.
need a bucket of dice.
If you do that, be fast. Or a dice app. That's what I do.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely doable, and it's something that I think you will still see at competitive tables. Like, because it's like old green tide. It's really difficult to deal with that many bodies. You can soak up so much table. You can zone so many things out. The meta isn't saturated to be able to deal 200 damage out of alpha strikes. And alpha strikes, for the most part, are glass hammers. So, like, KO comes in, they murder 2 units of zombies, 3 units of zombies then table them. Like, it's a solid army. Same for, like, Disciples of Tzeentch. Like, the one meta that they're more weak against is Lumineth Realm Lords, but even then, 200 zombie spam isn't easy for Lumineth Realm Lords to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a lot to deal with, because zombies can still be a threat even if you've killed their support. Because the grave sites give deathless minions, and the grave sites return units even if there aren't heroes present.
Yeah, and so much of Lumineth Realm Lord is 1 wound models, which zombies shine against. Like, you don't care about the -1 to hit from the companies. You don't care about any of their buffs to saves. You're just looking for those 6s to mortal wounds to kill them and get a zombie. Like, they're good. Like, 200 plus zombies is really good against the current S tier.
Yeah.
If you can move them fast enough.
Yes.
Yeah, which, I don't know, I think you can. Like, you use good movement trays that are magnetized, that have, like, patterns set up so that, like, you know that if one guy's touching, the other 3 guys near him are within like, there's a lot like
Hey, that sounds familiar.
I know, right? You don't have to get to the point where like, oh no, I'm missing out on 4 zombie attacks. That might not be worth the time of getting those extra 4 zombie attacks. You might not care to pile in perfectly because they're still going to be effective and working even when not at absolute optimum. Like, and there's a chance that it might not matter that the game only goes 3 rounds because it will have already been decided. Like, you only have to
That would be the
outnumber them on objectives for 3 turns in the game anyways.
At that point,
Right.
I think you, yeah. At that point, I think you get problems with durability, unless you took the ignore battle shock ability, and even then
Yes.
it'd be difficult, especially
Which
considering you're
I
getting
think you do.
bigger and you no longer fit within.
So
It's
I
complicated.
actually, like, honestly, you kind of want to take like a necromancer, make him the general, give them the ignore battle shock and Legion of Night, because he can get Lookout Sir, and they can act as a blade of wounds for him. Like,
So also for the record, a well placed, so if you're using movement trays and these movement trays are nested, for reference, a block of 40 honeycombed nested is about 6 inches by 6 inches. So you can fit 4 blocks around a hero with a 12-inch aura pretty easily.
yeah.
Yep, as long as they don't get fat, and they're designed to get fat.
And I would put them on.
Yeah, but that's a
And in
problem.
all honesty, like, yeah, that's a great problem. In AOS 3, if a White King on Steed could turn into a great thing to take these with, because it can keep up, and you can give them reroll once to hit.
Yep, which is 6% increase to the number of mortal, or 12-ish% increase in the number of mortal wounds you're going to do.
Yeah, those reroll if that goes away with AOS 3, that could become a real good hero for them.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think zombie spam honestly is quite capable of playing in S tier. I don't think it's the apocalypse that everyone else thinks it is. Like, Seraphon dumps buckets of damage.
And these guys have no save.
Yep, and I recently killed 80 Liberators very quickly.
Yep.
So I think it's possible to kill 200 zombies, but
it's
I do
100%
think it's
possible.
good.
I've done a game with Legion of Grief with 187 models, and in 3 battle rounds, I had over 200 models die.
Yeah.
Yep. Regardless, we have been at this for about 2 hours. Is there anything else you have to cover?
No, I think that was pretty much everything.
All right, then the jungle is calling me home. Thank you for joining us, Jacob. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You all have a wonderful night.